God is saying to you. There is a hush that falls over a room when the air feels too heavy to be ordinary. A particular stillness that seems to press on your chest and ask you to listen. If you are here now reading these words, you were drawn to this message for a reason. Not by accident, but by a pull that if you sit still long enough, you will recognize as a nudge from something larger than the moment. Hear this first and hold it. 3 hunters have arrived, and they are not hunters of animals. They have come with purpose, with lists, and with an intention that is far more personal than you might expect. The story begins far away, a place of planning, whispering, and calculation. But their footsteps have carried them close, and the truth of their mission now brushes the edge of your life. Take the warning seriously, because revelation is the beginning of protection. Imagine twilight on a quiet road. 3 figures moving in a line, not hurried but deliberate, each carrying a small leather satchel where a folded list is carefully kept. The list is not a casual scrap of paper. It is a document stitched with motive. On it are names, 3 names. And the moment you, the listener, realize the gravity of this, your throat tightens. Those names are not distant or random. They are painfully close. They are the names of people you would not suspect anyone would aim at. A neighbor who smiled for years, a colleague who borrowed sugar on Sundays, a cousin who knows the routes you take. The shock is not just that hunters exist. It's that the names on the page are threaded into your life. This is what forces the story to land. Betrayal rarely arrives disguised as a stranger. It comes as familiarity with a knife wrapped in a greeting. What I want you to feel first is that this knowledge is not meant to imprison you in fear. It is meant to arm you with clarity. The hunters move precisely because plans are effective when they are quiet and predictable. They study habits, watch entrances and exits, learn the times when doors are propped and alarms are off. But the very fact that their approach is calculated also becomes their undoing, because calculation leaves a pattern. When a pattern is traced, it can be read. When it is read, it can be interrupted. The same skill that lets them plan, attention to detail, is the skill you can now use to dismantle their strategy. Notice, therefore, the difference between panic and preparation. Panic shrinks. Preparation expands your options. You must also understand how this story often works in human terms. The hunters are seldom lone actors without ties. Behind them is an orchestrator, a mind that strings the plan together and chooses the names. And here is the part that cuts deepest. The orchestrator is not always far removed from you. They may be someone you have welcomed into your life. Someone who has sat at your table, who knows the pattern of your week. Who has been entrusted with small things and has quietly kept watch. Betrayal with a familiar face carries a special sting because it breaks the covenant of ordinary trust. Yet, it also reveals a theological truth. Darkness tends to hide in what appears ordinary. When a beloved becomes the architect of harm, the actual wound is not the theft of goods, but the theft of a world in which you believed people were safe. And that belief must be mourned and replaced with steadiness. Before your mind races to worst-case scenarios, breathe and remember this. Heaven is not surprised. The moment you become conscious of the hunters, you are being invited into a posture of partnership with the very power that sees all things. In the spiritual tradition that frames this message, Archangel Michael is the one who clears the way. He is the warrior who discerns, the sentinel who stands at thresholds, the one whose arrival is often preceded by a stillness that means pay attention. Michael does not merely scare away shadows. He brings light into precise places so that false plans can be exposed and truth can move with force. When you feel a nudge in your spirit, when a dream returns with a repeated image or a number that is not random, it is a signal. Angels speak through the obvious and the subtle alike. And your job now is to both heed the small warnings and take wise tangible steps. Start practically with clarity about who is in your inner circle. Not as an exercise in suspicion, but as an act of sober care. List the people who have access to your routines, who knows when you leave, who has keys, who can pick up your children, who knows the code to a gate. Then ask a second question of those people who have shown signs of restlessness, envy, or interest in things beyond polite curiosity. Look for shifts. Someone asking too many questions about where you keep important items, someone making casual comments about your blessings that carry a sour tone, or someone whose presence has suddenly become more insistent. Small things like that accumulate into a moral fingerprint. You do not need to be confronted with accusations. You need to observe, document if necessary, and reorganize access. Change locks if you have to tighten alarms. Put important documents in a safe you control. These measures are not paranoia. They are prudence. There is a deeply human reason why plans like this begin. Envy and the desire to possess what another has. But envy often dresses itself up in rationalizations. They don't deserve it. I've been overlooked. This will fix everything. The orchestrator persuades the more vulnerable parts of human nature to cooperate. The parts that think short-term needs trump long-term integrity. When you see how ordinary motives can be stitched into harmful plots, you begin to grasp that justice is not only punitive, it is preventive. Prevention includes making your life less available to exploitation. It includes boundaries that say some things are private and sacred and practices that ensure sacredness is defended. Listen to the subtle signs the universe has been whispering to you. Perhaps you've had a dream where you saw 3 shadowed figures moving across water or a sequence of 3 repeated numbers that felt like a door code. Perhaps you received the oddest feeling on a Tuesday like someone was behind you even in a bright room. These internal alarms are not merely emotional noise. They are signals. The more you honor them, the easier protection becomes. Record your impressions. Keep a private journal of odd occurrences. When pattern meets pattern, evidence begins to form. If the time comes when authorities or wise mediators must be involved, a pattern protects you from being gaslit or dismissed. But emotional intelligence is necessary here. This is not a story that reduces neatly to trust no one. That would be a loss. Trust is an essential human good, and part of the pain of betrayal is losing the capacity to trust. So the work you must do is not only external preparedness but internal formation. Training your heart to be wise rather than wounded. Wisdom means moving with caution when needed but refusing to live in a constant state of suspicion that steals your joy. The difference between a cautious life and a paranoid life is this. The first builds protections that return you to life. The second prevents life from happening at all. Let your protective steps be proportional, discreet, and rooted in a desire for peace. There will be relational complexity because the orchestrator may be someone you cannot easily remove from your life. A relative, a business partner, a longtime friend. When betrayal has family ties, the stakes are painfully high. And how you move matters not only for your safety, but for the future of that wider relational ecosystem. Seek wise counsel in these cases. A trusted pastor or spiritual director, a counselor, and if necessary, legal advice. A triple helix response. Spiritual, emotional, and practical keeps things grounded. A religious community can offer prayer and practical forms of oversight, someone to accompany you in conversations, a public mediator, and small practical support like checking in at night. Community does not mean gossip. It means responsible shared care. You must never mistake spiritual protection for hyperactivity. Prayers without action sound pious but lack muscle. Conversely, action without prayer can be an expert strategy missing its soul. Combine the two. Make a short litany of protection you can say when doing ordinary tasks. Locking the front door, leaving for work, tucking your children into bed. These do not require long devotionals. They require intentional sentences you can repeat. Something like, Lord, surround our home with your angels. Michael, stand guard. Cover us in peace. Says in minimal words what long talkiness cannot. Rituals anchor the imagination and steady the nerves. They do not replace locks. They complement them. Think also about the public dimension. Hunters like the ones in this message rely on secrecy. Light diminishes their advantage. If there is reason to believe malicious plans are being formed, there are principled ways to invite light. Tell a small circle, inform a housing association or workplace security, or file a report if the behavior crosses into threat. You are not being dramatic when you invite oversight. You are being responsible. Community systems, a watchful neighbor, camera placement, a polite but formal note to a landlord can be decisive deterrents. The orchestrator expects the field to be quiet. Make it noisy in the sense that a few reliable witnesses exist. Hunters do not like interference. At the same time, prepare your inner life for the grief that comes if a close person turns out to be the orchestrator. Betrayal is a trauma. It fractures assumptions and calls for mourning. Allow yourself to grieve what you thought was safe. This is not a weakness. It is necessary emotional honesty. Find counsel. Tell a trusted friend who will not rush you to conclusions. Naming the betrayal to a calm, steady listener closes the loop on silence, which is often where shame breeds. You do not need to go public with your grief to heal, but the wound must be met with care. Do not neglect the possibility of restoration either. People can change when confronted with their harm, especially when the community channels accountability with restorative practices rather than only ostracizing. If the orchestrator is someone you cannot permanently exclude, family, for example, a path toward accountability and restoration is sometimes both possible and life-giving. But restoration is earned. It requires active repair, not mere regret. It requires the wrongdoer to participate in consequences that rebuild trust incrementally under supervision. This is hard work, but where restoration is possible, it brings healing that mere punishment cannot deliver. Decide on an accountability plan and stick to it. That plan might include counseling, restitution, and supervised access to family for limited times depending on the severity of the harm. Hear this too. Betrayal often reveals deeper brokenness in the one who betrays. Envy, fear, desperation, these root causes can be treated. From a spiritual vantage, you can pray both for your protection and for the renewal of the person who has chosen harm. Praying for them does not excuse their behavior. It recognizes our shared humanity. A posture of prayer keeps your heart from hardening into bitterness, which would replicate harm in your own life. The radical courage is to pray for the person who plotted against you while remaining firm in your boundaries. This kind of prayer is small but profound. It refuses to be dragged into the same moral place as the one who harmed you. There will also be practical signs to look for that the hunter's plan is losing steam. Unexpected delays in the lives of suspicious actors. Random interruptions that make surveillance difficult. Sudden moral awakenings in people you thought were complicit. These are the quiet ways Providence operates to disrupt malicious intent. You will find that sometimes a broken car, a sudden illness, or a revealing conversation in a public place stops a plan without dramatic force. Watch for those small deliverances and give thanks. Gratitude recasts fear into a posture of hope. It helps to imagine the whole situation as a courtroom where patterns not personalities are the evidence. Document dates, times, questions, odd coincidences. Record them privately and accurately. If you ever must present the case to authorities, your documented record will be crucial. People who plan in patterns are often careless in the long run. They duplicate behavior. A log turns a suspect fog into a readable string that responsible people and systems can follow. This is not about entrapment. It is about clarity and truth. Lean also into daily rhythms that restore your sense of ordinary goodness. Meals with friends who make you feel safe. Walks that reconnect you with the steadiness of earth. Music that soothes your nervous system. The hunters want to unsettle you. Your job is to be intentionally steady. Keep a morning practice of claiming peace for the day. Keep a bedtime practice of reviewing 3 small things that went well. Those practices are not magical protections, but they recalibrate your brain away from hypervigilance and into sustainable readiness. If those who wish you harm are circling closer than you realize, then hear this with care. Wisdom is found in drawing sacred boundaries that protect both your steps and your peace. You cannot afford to live openly in a world where eyes are always watching. Guard the details of your life with discernment. Stop broadcasting your routines for all to see. Your family schedule should not be laid bare on social media where strangers can trace your movements as easily as turning the pages of a book. What feels harmless? A quick post, a casual update, may be the very breadcrumb that guides someone with ill intent straight to your door. Practical caution is not fear. It is strength. Do not leave keys where hands can reach them. Treat them as treasures, not tokens. Reset passcodes and lock combinations that too many have known. Silence the automatic sharing of calendars, locations, or travel plans that quietly map your every step. To some, these adjustments may seem small, even trivial. But together they form a wall of resistance, raising the cost of access for anyone who might be plotting against you. Each layer you add is a barrier they must break through. And often that alone is enough to deter them. But boundaries are not only built in silence. They are reinforced by presence. Invite trusted eyes to stand watch over your world. A neighbor who steps onto the porch at different hours. A friend who drops by unannounced. A loved one whose car appears in the driveway at unpredictable times. These movements create the illusion of constant vigilance. Hunters thrive in shadows, in predictability, in the certainty that no one is looking. Strip them of that comfort. Let your home and your life radiate the signal that you are never alone. That unseen guardians walk beside you. This is not paranoia. This is wisdom. It is the art of staying one step ahead in a world that is not always kind. Protection begins not with fear but with foresight, not with walls of iron, but with choices made daily, quietly, deliberately. And when you live with this awareness, you send a clear message to every eye that watches. You are not an easy target. You are not unguarded. You are covered both by wisdom and by the hand of God. There will be moments when anger will rise like fire in your chest, pushing you to act before wisdom has a chance to steady your hand. The temptation will whisper to strike back loudly, to expose the ones who stalk you, to meet their shadows with your own thunder. But hear this clearly. Haste is a weapon they hope you will pick up, because nothing weakens your defense faster than acting without full vision. Impulsiveness is the soil where traps bloom. What feels like power in the moment can quickly become a vulnerability that costs you dearly. Resist the urge to move too quickly. There is strength in restraint and victory in patience. Do not confuse silence with weakness, nor careful timing with passivity. A slow, deliberate step is harder to predict, harder to exploit, harder to counter. Instead of rushing to scatter your truth across every ear and eye, choose wisely who hears your voice. Bring your concerns first to those who have proven loyalty. Share your suspicions with trusted confidants who will not twist your words or expose your fears for their own gain. If the danger requires it, speak with the authorities whose role is to enforce justice. Trust that the pattern of deceit always unveils itself in time. Let the hunters be caught by the very net they win. To move wisely is to deny your adversaries the drama they crave. They want you to be rash, loud, and reactive. They thrive on spectacle because chaos cloaks their intent. But when you refuse to perform, when you anchor yourself in clarity and discipline, you rob them of that fuel. You force them into the open where their schemes crumble under the weight of their own exposure. This is the quiet art of defense, not to match noise with noise, but to answer darkness with a light that does not flicker or flare, but burns steady and sure. And remember this, you are not walking through these battles unguarded. There is a greater presence watching over you, one that no hunter can outrun. The unseen shield that has carried countless souls through danger surrounds you even now. Archangel Michael is more than a name to invoke. He is a reminder of the protection that encircles you when wisdom, prayer, and action join hands. Prayer is not an escape from responsibility. It is alignment with the strength you need to choose wisely. Heaven does not war apart from you but with you. When you pray, you are not just calling for help. You are calling your own spirit into focus, into steadiness, into strength. The sacred and the practical are not two separate paths. They are woven threads of one fabric. When you change your locks, when you move in silence, when you alter your patterns to outweak the gaze of those who watch, these are prayers in motion. When you gather your trusted circle, when you allow neighbors or loved ones to stand guard in ways small and unseen, this too is an answer to prayer. And when your lips whisper words of faith at night, those prayers do not vanish into the air. They braid themselves into the very steps you will take tomorrow. So let your heart rest in this truth. You are covered on all sides. You are guided not only by your own foresight, but by a shield that cannot be pierced. The hunters may think they circle closer, but every step they take is within a boundary they cannot see, a line they cannot cross. Their plants unravel while yours solidify. Their shadows scatter while your light grows brighter. Your protection is not in noise, not in spectacle, but in a steady trust that heaven and earth move together for your defense. And when that understanding anchors you, there is no plot that can undo you, no watcher that can overwhelm you, no darkness that can hold you. You are seen. You are guarded. You are never alone. Let us anchor together in prayer, naming both the peril and the promise. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the truth that exposes and the wisdom that protects. You are the light that cannot be hidden, the shield that cannot be pierced, and the shepherd who never abandons his flock. We bring before you now those who sense hunters at their door and in their circle. Those who feel the shadow of schemes and the weight of hidden plots. Surround them, Lord, with the mighty host of heaven. Let Michael, your warrior and defender, stand sentinel at every threshold over their home, their workplace, their travels, and even the spaces unseen where words and thoughts are shaped. Let your angels encamp around them as a wall of fire, driving out fear and scattering every plan of destruction. Expose deception where it hides. O God, strip away false masks. Uncover secret intentions and reveal truth so clearly that no confusion can cloud it. Bring forward honest voices, clear witnesses, and steady allies who will guard their path and walk beside them. Where betrayal has entered their circle, turn it into revelation. Where whispers of harm are spoken, silence them with your authority. We lift up those who are tempted toward harm. Soften their hearts with conviction, Lord. Call them back from darkness into your mercy. And if they will not turn, let your justice rise swiftly to protect the vulnerable and uphold the innocent. Strengthen the one who hears this message. Give them courage that is calm and unshaken by fear. Grant them discernment that sees beyond appearances, wisdom that chooses rightly, and the endurance to keep walking in faith. Place around them a community that will not abandon them, but will uplift, defend, and walk in unity. We ask for peace, deep abiding peace to settle in their home like a covering. Let clarity sharpen their mind, removing confusion and doubt. Steady their soul with the assurance that they are never alone, that your presence surrounds them in every breath and every moment. And as they move forward, may they feel not hunted but chosen, not vulnerable but victorious, not anxious but anchored in your unshakable love. We seal this prayer in the name of the one who watches with love, who reigns with power, and who guards with everlasting faithfulness, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. If this message speaks to your spirit, let it be more than a passing thought. Seal it with a declaration. Write in the comments, I am seen. I am shielded. These words are not just empty lines. They are a statement of faith, a bold reminder that you are never overlooked, never abandoned, and never left unguarded. When you speak it out, you align yourself with heaven's covering and step into a place of safety that no trap of the enemy can undo. Do not keep this truth to yourself. Someone connected to you may be stumbling through confusion, carrying fear in silence, or unaware of the snares being set against them. Share this word with them. Let your obedience be the spark that awakens their spirit and reminds them that protection is not a distant hope. It is a present reality. One act of sharing can shift an entire path, and you never know how far the ripple will reach. And if you are hearing this for the first time, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this space where faith meets wisdom, where divine warnings become practical steps, and where encouragement flows like fresh water for weary souls. Do not walk this road alone when you have been given a community that prays, prepares, and walks in light together. Click the bell, stay close, and let each message find you right on time like a lamp for your next step. If this ministry blesses you and you feel led to strengthen the work, consider supporting through the Super Thanks button below. Whether it is $5, $10, or even up to $20, your gift is more than generosity. It is a partnership in carrying light into places where shadows try to rule. Each seed sown here makes way for someone else to receive the very message they were praying for. So hold steady, beloved. Guard your peace, tend your heart, and remember, though hunters may draw up names and plot their schemes, their power ends where God's word begins. The final say will always rest with the one who watches over you, the keeper of your soul, who neither slumbers nor forgets. Walk boldly in that covering. You are seen. You are shielded. You are safe. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to reach 10,000 divine subscribers very soon.